Arsenal have gone from scoring 7 goals in 7 games to scoring 8 in just the last 2. And there's been a clear major improvement from a creative side that the team is getting better. In this video, we're going to go through exactly why they have fixed their creativity problems and how they can keep adapting to make it better in the future. So let's get into it. Now, the big talking points out from the sporting game is that was one of the most convincing Arsenal away performances in Europe in many years. Even this season, Arsenal had not scored an away goal in the Champions League and ended up scoring 5 goals against a good sporting side who play a very different system. And if you look at the XG that Arsenal have got in the last 2 games, specifically the sporting game, it is definitely a big increase on what was happening before. Now, of course, one of the major reasons for that is always going to be Martin Odegaard, but there's much more to it. Obviously, we've spoke about Yuri and Timber a few times and Calafiori being so vital to it, but it's how they make the system better is we're going to look at today and why it all works. Now, the first thing we're going to look at is how Arsenal exploited the 3-4-3 by Sporting. Now, the system that Sporting use is quite an aggressive system, but often they were rushed into making risky passes by Arsenal and Arsenal shut them down quite well. Now, one of the main ways that you gain control of any game in a 3-4-3 is having some of your sided centre-backs step up. Your left centre-back and right centre-back have to take that space in front of them into the midfield sometimes in order to stop strikers and attackers getting the ball and overmanning them, while you have your central centre-back as usually your quickest one and your anchor, the one that can run back and get there. Now, in this game, Sporting tried to do their 3v1 system on Havertz. They had all 3 of their centre-backs basically stay in a tight way for Havertz to not be able to run in behind them, and they worked with each other trying to overlap to try and actually cut off Havertz. Now, one of the big reasons that Arsenal managed to counter this is by actually just dictating things down one of the wings. Now, if you look at Arsenal's majority of their attacks do come from one of the wings, and there's been a big problem with them creativity wise, just giving the ball to Saka who crosses the ball in, where Arsenal don't really have enough pressure. Now, in this game, they decided to do a little bit different, and against Nottingham Forest, where they actually used their wing-sided positions to get in behind into good areas. Arsenal were having a lot of people over to the right, and they were making sure at the start that Havertz was still being operated. What this means is that Havertz has still got a lot of the defenders on him, even if he moves to the back post or to the front post, and the 3 centre-backs didn't really like pushing wide from their positions and wanted to keep centrally. This allowed Arsenal to basically get Timber, Saka and Odegaard, which is the normal triangle you would see down the right side, to work with people like Partey and Rice, who were both in that double pivot, who came over to give them more power and make it a 5v4. But the first goal comes from this, where Timber, Rice, Partey, Saka and Odegaard all make different runs, and we're not even reliant on Saka, who actually goes into the box in this situation, which Timber ends up putting back post where Martinelli and Havertz are, who have broke free away from the defenders. Now, one of the major reasons why Arsenal have made this creativity especially better is they have been focusing a lot of stuff on the right side. Now, we saw this by their touch map and pass map in the game overall, and you can see that the right side are very close and interchange with each other and still have the willingness of people like Havertz, Partey or Rice to come over and help. Now, one of the ways that they do this really well is Timber exploiting that half space in behind. Now, we saw this against Forest as well, where Odegaard pushed out wide and Timber went inside, but also there's been opportunities to do it the other way around, where Saka can come deeper on the inside run and Odegaard will overlap, or vice versa with Timber, who sometimes operates from passing levels on the width, where Odegaard comes inside and can make that run now to pass it to one of the midfielders. Now, in a 5-back against Sporting, this actually is a little bit different, and while that is the major way Arsenal get the ball up progression wise, Arsenal needed to basically pull players away to make it work with Sporting. For instance, the left centre back for Sporting will always go into that area because they need to attack that space. They can't rely on the left back to keep going into the inside run because he has to occupy the width, like Saka probably staying out wide, and Arsenal were very smart about this. They actually got Havertz to stay close to the left centre back so the left centre back couldn't step up. Now, with him not being in that much of a central area, of course the centre back could push up himself, but he's not going to do that because he doesn't want to be out of position. So the centre back and the right back are going to stay in their positions, not marking anyone, while Martinelli and Saka keep the width and Havertz stays on that left centre back in there. This was good because Arsenal now isolated the 2 midfielders that would come over, usually being the DM and the central midfielder. In a 3v2, they'd have Partey in that sort of area. Obviously, Rice at this point was on the left side, and Odegaard Odegaard and Timber could work as well with that and pass it around and move into that space. There was not enough area for the other people to actually defend from. This allowed Arsenal to progress through that nature, but they also were very adaptable. When Sporting flooded the left half space and made sure Arsenal couldn't make any progression, bringing the actual centre-backs closer and sort of making that area a lot tighter, Arsenal went in behind. They had Saka obviously on the width with the fullback catching him, and of course stuff like this takes a good execution, good run to make it happen, but Saka actually starts deeper, so the wing back gets pulled out of position and then runs in behind him, so he's in an onside position because he's where the line is, and he can get in behind, where Arsenal ended up scoring from the second goal. However, the reason why all of this works really well is because Arsenal don't stick to the same principles. A few minutes later, Arsenal had the exact same situation where Sporting tried to close that gap, and Arsenal get the ball deeper, where they can do that ball over the top to Saka. Now Saka in this example didn't actually decide to run in behind and kept his ball and kept the position, which allowed people to progress and move into different roles and be a lot more fluid. Now we've given a lot of credit to Timber over the last few days for these fluid movements, but it really does help with Martin Odegaard. He is very smart tactically and does help Arsenal down this right hand side a lot. What we are seeing is that Saka is now not getting as much people on him because Odegaard takes players away. Players are also scared of what Odegaard can create, and when he makes that overlapping run, he not only gets one player on him, they don't want him cutting back and passing it. Odegaard and Timber are self-sufficient on that right hand side, where they can make movements and pass it within each other to progress the ball. We're seeing Timber do their deep runs from the half space, even late off the ball or even with the ball against Sporting, but Odegaard can also occupy width and also be a significant passer from just outside the box in that half space. This allows Saka to actually get into boxes and get into the good positions in behind, because a lot of the time he's only getting man marked by one person now and not the 2 or 3 that he was before. So Odegaard and Timber pulling people away from him is actually helping Arsenal a lot. And overall, Arsenal have improved because they have relied on their right hand side. They are using people like Declan Rice in the game against Sporting to come over, but even Jorginho against Forest and Jesus. Arsenal are getting people that do prefer the right hand side over the left hand side like it used to be, and they're all just overmanning people in that corner to give Saka and Odegaard most of the ball, which is creating a lot. Also having the right side be self-sufficient with the midfielders and Timber the defender, the right back there, is allowing people like Havertz and Jesus not to always have to come over, and Martinelli or Trossard on the left wing to basically just stay in the box the other side. As we saw against Sporting and Forest, Arsenal have scored goals where the left winger and the left striker have basically just not been in the play for most of it and have been waiting for the ball back post to get into the box on them crosses. This is something I think Arsenal are looking more at. It gives Martinelli the ball in the positions that he wants it in, and also gives Saka the ball in good positions, but mostly in them breakaway opportunities. If Arsenal are going to try and score from a deeper position, you'll see him go down the right hand side, or if it's against a low block. And if it's a quick transition, Arsenal can also go down both sides now and try and significantly pass it in the box, but I do think the right hand side is better overall because Martinelli can just get in there. Overall, to put it simply, Arsenal are better in creative numbers because they have multiple players that have incredible technical ability. We now have Odegaard, Timber that can go anywhere they want, and Arsenal can always switch it to the other side to get Calafiori and Martinelli overlapping each other with Rice in that half space, or Marino in some games. Arsenal can play a different system in the game and play different tactics around going in behind, but also coming short now, which is something I think they missed a lot with these players being absent. And overall, I expect Arsenal's creativity at least to improve a lot, and it has done in the last 2 games, where you will see a lot more significant chances happen. And even against Sporting and Forest, Arsenal had a lot of opportunities close within the 6-yard box, which is exactly what we want. We don't want to just aimlessly be crossing it into Havertz, who's getting marked by them 3 centre-backs like we said. Overall, let me know in the comments what you guys think about this system overall, and who do you think will be the best player for Arsenal. Let me know what you guys think in the comments, and I'll see you in the next one.